Welcome to KUTV Elimu Live. I'm Mr. James Otula. I'll be presenting English lesson today. I just want to remind you to keep safe. You can see I'm wearing my mask, but you may not hear me when I am on my mask. So I'll remove it for the time being. Then we shall continue with our lesson. Welcome. Thank you very much, wherever you are tuned in from. I want to take us through a very interesting lesson today. Last week when Mr. Caleb Nyakundi was here, he was taking the candidates through a certain topic in closed test. And one of the things that he mentioned was about the do's and don'ts when handling a closed test. And the item that he mentioned that captured my attention most was the use of punctuation. So this morning, I want to take you, wherever you are, this lesson is very appropriate for children in class 5, 6, 7, and 8, and any other English user outside there. This lesson will be very beneficial to you. The main objective of this lesson today is that at the end of the lesson, I'll expect the learner, and the learner is you who is listening today. You may be a parent there, you may be a candidate, you may be in class 7, that at the end of it, my desire would be that you will know how to use the different punctuation marks appropriately. And this is even in spoken English. Punctuation matters a lot. It is not only in written English, but it's also in spoken English. I always remind my candidates that even when they speak, they have to put punctuation marks in their speaking, because you meet a child who speaks without even punctuating the work. So this morning, I want to invite you, and if there is going to be a question, we shall be here to answer them. You'll use the handle that is given down there, the WhatsApp. I'll be glad enough to tackle your questions as the time go by. I want to request you to keep it to the syllabus. This one is specifically for the class, what is in the primary syllabus. So welcome for the lesson, and let's go. Our first punctuation mark we are going to look at is the full stop. We are going to look at the full stop. And I always call the full stop the mother of all punctuation marks, because being a teacher of English, I also mark composition a lot. And it's always very funny that you get children using only 2 punctuation marks. It is a comma once and a full stop at the end of the sentence, not knowing that there are very many punctuation marks. In fact, at primary level, you should be using at least 12 punctuation marks. So today I want to give you a variety of these punctuation marks so that you are capable of handling different aspects, because the punctuation mark is tested in question 1 to 15, the closed test. Punctuation mark, it never misses in question 15 to 26. Punctuation mark will dictate how you understand the comprehension passage from number 26 to 50. So meaning that punctuation mark is very, very vital for you as a learner that is listening to me today. So we want to look at the full stop, and I've called it the mother of all punctuation marks. I understand that full stop, their uses are very common, and I'll start with the first one, that a full stop is used to mark the end of a sentence. Full stop is used to mark the end of a sentence. An example: This is my car. And in this sentence, this is a very simple sentence. This is my car. We expect that at the end of it, you'll have a full stop. I'll not spend much time explaining the use of a full stop. I'll go to the second use of a full stop, because full stop, these are very common. We shall come across other punctuation marks that may give us challenges. The next one, that full stops are also used to mark abbreviations and short forms of words. An example, GPO. GPO, these are abbreviations. G, and after each letter you put a full stop, you mark it with a full stop. P, full stop, then O. GPO means General Post Office. I believe I've helped very many people. People always go to town, they are asked, do you know where the GPO is? And they don't know what that means. Then I'll give an example. This is an abbreviation, what I talked of here. I'll give an example in short forms. I've written the word on, then full stop. On, full stop. This one means honorable. This is a short form of the word honorable. I'll move to the next punctuation mark. And the next punctuation mark we shall tackle this morning is the colon. And this is the colon. I failed to show you the full stop here. That is the symbol for the full stop. So the first use of a colon, we use a colon to introduce a list of items. The first use here, when we want to introduce a list of items, we use colon. We use these two marks, and they are not called two full stops. That is what my learners sometimes tell me, that teacher, these are two full stops. They are not two full stops. This is a colon. An example in a sentence. The teacher gave us a lot of gifts, and now I want to introduce the list of these gifts. So I'll put the colon, and the first one there, pen, comma, rubber, and the teacher gave us a lot of gifts. Colon, and you don't say colon, you just create a post there. Pen, rubber, and a ruler. The next use of a colon is B. The next use of a colon is to introduce a quotation. To introduce a quotation. A quotation can also be called a speech. words that were spoken by somebody. An example in a sentence: the principal decreed. The word decreed here is ordered. It also means ordered. So we want to look at the quotation, the words that were said by the principal. The principal decreed. The principal decreed nobody should take alcohol. The principal decreed nobody should take alcohol. These are the quotation, the words that were spoken by the principal. In other words, instead of using speech marks, we can also use quotation marks. The common way that we would have put this one in speech marks, we would have assumed that there is no colon here, then we use the speech mark. So today I'm teaching you that you don't need to use speech marks. You can use colon instead of speech marks. And that whenever a composition is marked and a marker finds a child who is able to use more than 3 punctuation marks correctly, that you can use the colon, the semicolon, the bracket well, that will be a merit. That will be a merit. That you will see a teacher putting a mark somewhere there, meaning that you've used the punctuation marks well. The next, after the colon, I know that you are already thinking and you already know what we have next. And what we have next is the semicolon. The semicolon. And this is the symbol for the semicolon. That is the symbol for the semicolon. And what are we told about the semicolon? The first use of a semicolon is that it is used to join 2 sentences when there is a contrast. And I know the only new word that could be in this sentence here is contrast. Contrast meaning that one part of that sentence is positive, another part of that sentence is negative. An example of such a sentence is some countries are rich, others are poor. Like the opposite of rich is poor. We can join this sentence using semicolon. We can join this sentence using semicolon. Like we can write some countries countries are rich, others aren't. And when you look at what I've done here, is that I've made even this sentence now shorter. You can count these words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Meaning that punctuation will always save you a lot of words. Instead of using very many words, punctuation will always be the right thing to do. It will always make your work easier. The next use of semicolon, the second use of a semicolon is to that the second use of a semicolon is to replace conjunction but. To replace conjunction but. To replace conjunction but in a sentence. To replace conjunction but in a sentence. To replace conjunction but in a sentence. At this level, I believe you know what a conjunction is. Conjunction is simply a joining word. So there are sentences that have but in them. So we can simply replace the use of but with a semicolon. An example in a sentence would be, she can drive. Her husband cannot. This sentence, there is but here. But she can drive, but her husband cannot. We can replace the use of but here with a semicolon. How can we do that? You write she can drive, semicolon, her husband cannot. And again, you realize that this sentence again has been shortened. The sentence has been shortened. We go on to the quotation marks. Quotation marks, and I've given two examples here. We have the single quotation and the double quotation. We shall start by looking at the single quotation. How do we use the single quotation? Let us give it A. The single quotation marks. There are two main uses of single quotation mark. There are two single quotation marks. Like the first one, the first use of the single quotation mark is that it is used when writing the title of a book, magazine, newspaper, TV program, the title of a book, magazine, newspaper, TV program, and etc., meaning that the list is endless. An example in this sentence I'll give. Osanya likes watching Elimu TV. Elimu Live. Osanya likes watching Elimu Live. Osanya likes watching Elimu Live. So I've used single quotation here to show that Elimu Live is a TV program. Elimu Live is a TV program. So I'll use single quotation. The next use of single quotation is, will be Roman 2. It is used when none English words. That single quotation are used when non-English words are used in a sentence. When non-English words are used in a sentence, we use single quotation. An example, I'll give an example. An example in this case will be, Jane likes eating pilau. Jane likes eating pilau. So pilau here is not an English word. That is why we've given it single quotation. Jane likes eating pilau. Pilau is not an English word. That is why we put it in single quotation. And it is not always advisable for learners to insert non-English words in English sentences. You just use it when you've reached the last limit. Now, when you cannot do anything beyond that, that is when this one will be acceptable. But with the time, you realize that there are some non-English words that have been put in, even in the dictionary. It will not be surprising when you find words like boda boda in a dictionary, but you realize that boda boda, originally it is not an English word. So when you use such words, it is always advisable to use single quotation, and I'm saying that it is not a good practice. We go to the use of double quotation. Double quotation. And double quotation are also called speech marks. Double quotations are also called speech marks. They are also called speech marks. The first use of double quotation is to enclose part of a speech. To enclose part of a speech. To enclose part of a speech. To enclose part of the spoken words. An example in a sentence would be, "Where is my book?" Awiti asked. Where is my book? Awiti asked. Now you look at the exact ones that were spoken by Awiti are, where is my book? Where is my book? So we use double quotation to enclose that. We use double quotation to enclose that. We move to the use of question mark. We move to the use of question mark. Question mark. Question mark will be number 5. And that is the symbol of question mark. The very obvious use of a question mark is to mark the end of a question. To mark, the first use will be to mark the end of a question. To mark the end of a question. To mark the end of a question. And a question is a sentence that calls for interrogation. A sentence that calls for an answer. No, in the recent times, children are currently changing the nature, the way in which they ask questions. A child can come to you and think that he or she is asking a question by coming to you, teacher, we are going home. By calling you, teacher, we are going home, the child will be expecting that you tell her yes or no. Actually, that is not a question, that is a sentence. A question should call for yes or no, or a better answer that is quite long. So a question mark is used to mark the end of a question. An example will be, what are the effects of COVID-19? What are the effects of COVID-19? This is a question that will need a deeper thinking, and you'll be expected to give a better explanation on what COVID-19 has done to this country. The next use of a question mark is that they are used with question tags. They are used with question tags. That question marks are used with question tags. An example, another day we shall look at how we handle question tags. The boy came late. When we are to add a question tag to this one, the answer here will be, didn't he? And we use a question mark there. The boy came late, didn't he? And that word is read as didn't he, not didn't he. Didn't he? The boy came late, didn't he? We move to the use of a comma. And this is the symbol of a comma. That is the symbol of a comma. Comma is very common. And I believe and I know that most learners always use the comma. Most learners are always in the practice of using the comma. So the first, and when I began, I told you that punctuation can save a life. Correct punctuation can save a life. Let me just give you first use of a comma, then I'll tell you how punctuation can save a life. To list items. The first use of comma is to list items. An example would be, Kagendo bought rice, oranges, and mangoes. We are listing the items that were bought by Kagendo. The first item here is rice, oranges, and mangoes. Now let me tell you how punctuation can save your life. How punctuation can save your life. Look at this sentence. I love cooking my family, baking, I love cooking my family and baking. Look at this sentence. I love cooking my family and baking. Without punctuation, somebody would think that you are actually cooking your family. So when we put a comma here to mean that I love cooking, the first thing that you love, cooking, my family, and baking. Look at this one again. Let's eat sun. Let's eat sun. This sentence will simply mean that you want to eat the sun. But with the comma, it will bring the right meaning. Let's eat sun. You are encouraging the sun to join you in eating. The next use of a comma is used with question tags. We say that question marks are used with question tags. Commas are also used with question tags. An example would be, she went to the market. She went to the market. When we want to attach a question tag to this one, the first rule in question tags is always start with a comma. So we are going to use a comma here. She went to the market. Attach a question tag to it. Didn't she? She went to the market. Didn't she? She went to the market. Didn't she? We move to the second use of a comma. The second use of comma is to add additional information. I want to believe that you are typing the question somewhere, that in the course of this lesson, I'll be able to handle them. The next use of a comma is to add additional information. To add additional information. To add additional information. In an example, I'll give Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta Jomo Kenyatta 1963 to 1968 was the president of this republic. So the additional information added here is 1963 to 1978. This one shows the duration in which Jomo Kenyatta led this country. Jomo Kenyatta, 1963 to 1978, was the president of this republic. This sentence will still be right. It will still make a lot of sense without this part here. Let's read it together, learners. Jomo Kenyatta was the president of this republic. Very right. So, meaning that this part here has only been used to add additional information. The part here has only been used to add additional information. We move to the next use of a comma to show rest or pause. Rest, this one is a basic word. A better word here is pause in a long sentence. In a long sentence. To show rest or pause in a long sentence. An example in a sentence we shall have. We shall look at an example here. Yesterday morning, as I was walking to school, I saw some boys. Yesterday morning, pause, as I was walking to school, pause, I saw some boys. This sentence is quite long to be read without some commas in it. It would sound like you are singing. Yesterday morning, as I was walking to school, I saw some boys. We move to the next use of comma. And the next use of a comma, we are told, is to separate subordinate clause. To separate subordinate clause. To separate subordinate clause from the main clause. From the main clause when a sentence begins with a preposition or a conjunction. To separate subordinate clause from the main clause, when a sentence begins with a preposition or a preposition or a conjunction. And I said that conjunction is a joining word. Preposition are words that show the position of a noun. Words like to, under, such are preposition. Like an example we shall give, as soon as the bell was sounded, comma, the pupils went home. As soon as the bell was sounded, the pupils went home. You look at this sentence, the main clause here, the main sentence here is the pupils went home. So this is the main clause. This first part is what we call the subordinate clause. A subordinate clause is part of a sentence that cannot stand on its own. It cannot make meaning on its own. Like, as soon as the bell was sounded, so what? That is the question that you will ask. As soon as the bell was sounded, so what? The pupils went home. So the exact sentence here is the pupils went home. If I entered a classroom and told the pupils that they went home, it will be understood. But if I just entered and told them, as soon as the bell was sounded, everybody will be looking at me. What happened next? They went home. So that is the main clause. So this is what we call a conjunction. Let us look at one with a preposition. One with a preposition. To pass in an examination, you have to study hard. To pass in an examination, this one is what we call a preposition. To. These are sentences that has begun with a preposition. To pass in an examination, the next question will be, so what? You have to study hard. So the main clause here, the main sentence here is, you have to study hard. We move to the next use of a comma. A comma can also be used when listing the date, and that one is not part of primary work. So I'll just want to move to the use of apostrophe. 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 And this is what we call the apostrophe. This should be number 7. Apostrophe. Apostrophe. And the first use of apostrophe is used. They are used in contractions. Contractions or short forms. Short forms of words. They are used in contractions or short forms of words. What do I mean here? That when we have words that are longer, we can shorten them using apostrophe. An example would be they cannot do that work. They cannot do that work. There are parts of this sentence that we can shorten. We would simply say, they can't do that work. They can't do that work. That is very basic and simple use of apostrophe. They are also used to show possession. Possession or ownership. Like an example I'll give in a sentence. This is Tom's. It is not just a long line. This is Tom's car. So I've used apostrophe here to show that the car actually belongs to Tom. This is Tom's car. The car actually belongs to Tom. So this is the next use of apostrophe. That is the second use of apostrophe. And apostrophe are also used. They are used with common expressions. Apostrophes are also used with common expressions. What do I mean here? There are those common expressions that we always use in our daily lives. Like we talk of a stone's throw away. a stone's throw away. This one means that the distance is not far. Their home is a stone's throw away. Here we use apostrophe, and the list is endless. We move to the use of a dash. The use of a dash. The use of a dash. Dash will be number 8. Dash. And dash is that one. Dash is not long. It is the short. People confuse it a lot with the hyphen. The dash is longer than the hyphen. Hyphen is the shorter one. Dash is long. So dash are used the same way with the bracket. I don't want to come back to the bracket because they mean the same thing. Dash and brackets are used the same way. They are used to add additional information. That the dash is used to add additional information. Dash is used to add additional information. Let me give an example. An example would be our country, Kenya, has a population of roughly 47 million. Our country, Kenya. So this part here, this is additional information. What we mean by additional information is that it is part of that sentence that we can do without. Our country, Kenya, has a population of roughly 47 million. This sentence will still be right when we say our country has a population of roughly 47 million. We move to the next punctuation mark, and one that is very close to dash, and that is the hyphen. The hyphen. The hyphen is shorter than the dash. The first use of hyphen, they are used with compound words. Used with compound words. An example of compound word is son in law. Son in law. This is a compound word because this is a combination of different words. We've added son to in is a preposition to law to make a different meaning. Son, we know what son is, but when we add it to in law, it brings another meaning. I believe we are together. So another use of the hyphen, is also used with prefixes. Prefixes are letters or numbers or words that are added to some words to give another meaning. Like we have co-worker. Co-worker. The word co here is a prefix. It's added to worker to give another meaning. We all know who a worker is. A worker is a person that works for somebody. And the word co here now means that somebody else who has joined to work with him. So we get another total new meaning from this word, co-worker. They are also used with numbers. Numbers and fractions. They are used with numbers and fractions. An example, this word is written as 63. 63. Don't just write 63 without an hyphen there. This one is written as 3 quarters. 3 quarter. 3 quarter. That is basically the use of an hyphen. Then the hyphen is also used to split a word at the end of a line. Split a word. Split a word. To split a word at the end of a line. Look at this sentence. Maybe you want to write a story. I saw the boys in different clothes. This one is always used when this space is not enough. And I want to repeat that it is not advisable. It is not advisable. It is not advisable to do this. Why is it not advisable? Because you don't know how to divide the syllables. The syllables in English is quite different from the one in Kiswahili. So maybe you will divide this word with the diff, then you split it using an hyphen. That is not appropriate. The second last one is the use of exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. The second last one is exclamation mark. The exclamation mark, and the exclamation mark is here. The first use of exclamation marks is to show feelings. To show feelings. Or to express emotions. We say that they are used with interjections. They are used with interjections. They are used with interjections. Interjections are simply ones that show feelings, emotions. You want to show that you are sad. You want to show that you are happy. You will use exclamation mark. Words like ouch, wow, bravo. Those are words that show your feelings or emotions. An example I'll give. Ouch, you have hurt me. You are showing that you are actually not happy. You have hurt me. You are showing that you are not happy. They are also used at the end. Used at the end of a command. When I give a command, I'll expect that I use the exclamation mark. An example in this would be sit down. Sit down. I'm not requesting you to sit down. I'm telling you, sit down. I'm giving you a command. So when I give a notice to the class, I pass this notice to the monitor. It will be a command. It will not be a request. And the last we are going to look at is the use of capital letters. The use of capital letters. That is number 11. Capital letters are also, and an example I'll give here is A for apple. That is how the preschool kindergarten sound it. A for apple, letter A. So we all know how to use capital letters. The first use of capital letter is used at the beginning of a sentence. Used at the beginning of a sentence. An example, Arsenal. Arsenal is a great team. Arsenal is a great team. I know this one is relative. Some people will say, no, it's not a great team. But I've just given an example. I always tell children in class that we must be fair to everybody. Don't always discriminate somebody. Even if you see somebody not catching up well with you, tell them that you are going to do well another time. They are also used with direct speech. They are used with direct speech. Used with direct speech. So that will be the second one. Used with direct speech. Used with direct speech. An example would be please go to the office. Please go to the office. So here, Arsenal, R. We used capital R. Please go to the office. The beginning of this sentence, we have to begin it with capital letter. Please go to the office. Said the teacher. So whenever you are starting part of a quotation, part of words that was spoken by somebody, you use capital letters. We use capital letters, and they are also used with pronouns, proper pronouns, used with proper pronouns. Proper pronouns and adjectives. What I mean by proper pronouns here is the I. When using I in a sentence, it must always be in capital. I saw him yesterday. I saw him yesterday. This I is capital. What do we mean by proper adjectives are like, she bought a Japanese jacket. So Japanese, J there should be capital. Japanese is a proper pronoun. The last one here, they are used with abbreviation. Used with abbreviations. Used with abbreviations. They are used with abbreviation, like I gave an example of GPO, General Post Office. These letters must always be in capital. Up to this point, I believe that you are much now informed about how to use the punctuation marks. We've looked at the use of comma, the use of full stop, the use of colon, the use of semicolon, and I've told you that correct punctuation can always save a life. Correct punctuation can always save a life. I'll go to the WhatsApp and check some of the questions that you've sent. I want to see the questions that you've sent. I'll try to answer them very fast in the interest of time. I'll answer them very fast. But if you fail to remember everything, remember that correct punctuation will save a life. And punctuation is very important. Very important in that from number 1 to 15, punctuation will always be tested there. From number 16 to 25, there will always be a punctuation tested there. In paragraph, in passage comprehension, always check. The way you read a comprehension will determine your understanding. It will determine whether you are going to get it right or you are going to get it wrong. The way you read your comprehension will always... I gave you an example of how punctuation can save your life. Let's eat sun. Let's eat sun. If you don't punctuate that sentence well, it will mean that you actually want to eat the sun. That will be very, very wrong. Let me go through these. The questions I can see there are many, very many questions. Somebody saying good mastery of content. Thank you, Mr. Maina. I can see very, very many. They are just, Mr. Manasseh is telling me following this crucial topic. Thank you, Dennis Ojuka, watching from Kisumu. There is Sarah from Nairobi. When using a comma, do add more information. We again use bracket as you did, or do we use one of them? When using a comma, don't add a comma with a bracket. Just use the comma alone. When you've decided to use the comma alone. Like in this sentence, the boy who came late was punished. So I can decide to use the bracket there. The boy was punished. Now you'll be answering the question, which boy? The one who came late. You can also decide to use a comma here. Instead of using brackets, you can use a comma. Hey teacher, I'm Yvonne from Jiru. Which sentence is correct? It is my dog. There's this sentence here. It is my dog. And there is this one here. It's my dog. Yvonne, the right sentence here is this one. It is a short form. This is a short form of it is. That is the use of apostrophe for contraction. Hey, I'm Jedida from Meru. It's correct to say that the teacher gave us many gifts like. No, there is no need of putting like there. It will be a repetition. So just say the teacher gave us many gifts. You start listing the gifts. Hello teacher, great lesson. Good job, Mr. James. Caleb Nyakundi, thank you, Mwalimu. Hi, I'm Prosi from Siokamau. Can we use a colon when writing composition? And why don't we use short forms when writing composition? You can use colons when writing composition. It will be a merit. The marker will put a tick there because the marker will know that this is a child who has higher level of thinking. It is wrong to use short forms in composition because some of these words, we may shorten them the wrong way. You know, the use of fonts today has really interfered with our way of doing things. There are very many words. You go to WhatsApp, you go to Facebook, you find people shortening things that you don't even know where they have come from. So we request you that don't shorten words. I am Damaris. Is single quotation mark used when writing a proverb in a composition? You don't need to use the single quotation there. You don't need to use, hi teacher, I'm Helena. What if there is TV program in a speech? How will you write the answer? For example, Stella, if Stella, I like watching Elimu TV, how will you use the quotation marks? That is a very good question. Now, let me just put it here very fast. Office. Go to the, so let me use this one. Please go to the Simba. This is not an English one. So you will use single quotation here, then you will close it here. Look at how that one is funny. You'll first enclose the one that is not in English, then you close the speech one. I'm from Machakos. Please, sir, how do this sentence change in active? What was stolen? The person from Machakos, we are going to tackle this active and passive voice. It is a whole long topic. What was stolen? But you see, when you want to change speech mark, active to passive voice, there must be what we call the subject-verb agreement. A sentence that is not having that format may not be changed to passive. The feedbacks are many. Thank you, teacher. What is the pronunciation of this word? This one is pronounced as honorable. You remove that H, honorable. Our, honorable. I'm from Nakuru. Please explain again the sentence, I love cooking. My friend, my family. In the interest of time, I may not go back there, but with the use of comma, it has brought the meaning of what I wanted to put there. This one just simply means that this person loves cooking, family, and baking. Is it supposed to be a dash to be placed at the end of an finished sentence or an hyphen? Somebody is asking this one, that is it supposed to be a dash or an hyphen? It is a dash. Thank you very much for the feedback. We are very happy. Keep it live here. Thank you very much. Till we meet another time. I remain your teacher, Mr. James Otula from Sophos Community School within Ruiru, Kiambu County. Until next time, let's do it again.